What's up? This is Logan with All the Pretty Things, and you're listening to the Brutally Delicious Podcast.
1, 2, 3, 4. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast.
Doing good.
Where are you located? It looks nice where you're at.
Oh, I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Ah, so you got some nice weather.
Yeah, it's not bad, man. It's a nice little day.
Nice. Well, thank you for taking the time. You doing press all day, or is this just a one-off?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
You doing press all day, or is this just a one-off?
Oh, just a one-off.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
There you go.
Cool.
I'll give you all the good stuff.
All the good stuff. Excellent. And you're not tired from talking.
No, not at all.
So we can just jump right in if you want. All the Pretty Things. You guys are pretty much a who's who in metalcore, post-hardcore stuff. How did you put this together, and what was the reason to do something a little bit different than your roots are?
Yeah, man. It kind of came together. It started with Worth and Tristan, the two guitar players, and I guess they had known each other for a little while. They met in like a little studio project or something. They were both helping like set up a recording studio. And they kind of hit it off, and I'd known Worth for a long time, and he wanted me to kind of like audition some vocals on this stuff because they had recorded, basically like demo drums, demo bass, all the final guitars, and they were looking for a vocalist for a while, and I just I hadn't played with like an actual rock band in so long. I was like itching to do something fiery. So yeah, I threw some stuff on there, and then at that point we were like, okay, this could be a serious thing we should pursue. And we hit up Jeremy and Will and got them on board. And they obviously have a long list of credentials, so didn't take much for us to line up with those guys.
Right.
But man, doing something a little different is just, I don't know. I think we did our time doing the really heavy stuff, a lot of us. And we still like it is our roots, to just play heavier, like hard rock. So we didn't want to give that up, but we also kind of wanted to integrate just more of the influences we'd kind of gathered over the years, just make it a little sweeter, a little prettier, add some layers, and make it just really texturally intricate was kind of the goal there.
So I know you've got a few singles out, but are you looking to do a full release? Or are you going to follow the business model of a single every 6 weeks or something?
Yeah, so we're essentially we are releasing a single every 6 weeks or so, but that will all in the end with distribution and all that will be combined into the one record, and it'll be 10 songs, and all the songs go together well. So we figured we can release them as a more of a marketing strategy one at a time, but the intention is for it to be eventually viewed as an entire piece of work there.
Right, because I imagine, especially, being from the older school, that the full length is something I still look for that in releases and things. And I know you have to deal with the 6 week singles because people have attention span of gnats, and that's the way it's running. However, I still do appreciate, sitting down and listening to the way you recorded it and sequenced it, because that's a missed art too as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And we love that too. I mean, we want to, in an ideal world, if we already had like a massive built-in following and we knew everybody would listen to every song, we would just drop a record because, there is something to be said about that. And it's what we grew up on.
Right. But I know we changed.
Yeah, I know it's crazy, but yeah, that's a model that we value a lot. But we're just kind of playing the game as best we can right now. But we will have it as a full length on all the streaming platforms. We'll probably do a run of vinyl as well for those vinyl enthusiasts out there. So we're gonna do it up. We're gonna do it up right.
Excellent. What's been the response to what you've released so far?
Man, it's been overwhelmingly positive. And I'm sure there are plenty of people who maybe it's not for them, but everybody that we've talked to, everybody's reached out to us. And as far as our just streams overall, it's been surprisingly good. And I think people, from what I can gather, are refreshed to hear what we're doing. Because it's still got the edge, like we talked about, the hard rock edge, but there's kind of something something different about it, but hopefully not in a bad way. I don't think so.
No, and I imagine you have your, your metal purists or your hard rock purists that are not going to make the journey with you. But I think it's not a huge jump. I mean, the stuff is still very similar to, a melding of what you guys have done in the past, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm glad you think that. That's good to hear.
I don't think it's too far of a jump to say, hey, I'm going to listen to all the pretty things, and I used to be, he is Legend fan or whatever. I think you can kind of make
Right.
that jump pretty easily, or at least I can.
Yeah, well, man, I'm glad for listeners like you. Yeah, it's like we basically took all the other sounds and all the other bands and just tried to make it maybe a little more pop oriented, like radio friendly kind of thing. So it's not too much of a jump.
So, I mean, I think this is definitely, and the heavier stuff is emotional. The heavier stuff is definitely emotional and stuff, but I think your new music, all the pretty things, is definitely more emotional. And with that being said, then, is there something you want your fans to take away from after listening to, I don't know, any of the 3 songs, Teenage Lines or any of the ones that, are out now?
I wouldn't say there's like a specific takeaway. Thematically, I would kind of say, I mean, the thing I've always been into writing about is just the human condition in general. So, I mean, you'll see a lot of issues that as these songs come out, you'll see a lot of very normal issues that we all can relate to be addressed. For me, it's a lot about like finding your place in society and just like as an emotional creature in this crazy modern society that we live in. And that could have to do with mortality, it could have to do with politics, it could have to do with your direct interpersonal relationships with the people closest to you. And yeah, it is very emotional. I try and get it all out, man. I try and get all the damn demons out every song. So
I mean, it's cathartic for you, I'm sure, but it's cathartic for the listener as well.
I certainly hope so, and I appreciate you saying that. I mean, that is the goal for sure, is to really hit people on a deeper level. And yeah, I try to deliver it vocally in such a way that you can kind of like, without, even if it weren't in an actual language, you'd still sort of get the idea of what
Right.
was being felt,
That's interesting. You could do that. So just by tone and phrasing.
Yeah, I think so. Hitting the right emotional cues at the right time, and then your cadence, your
Right.
the choice of syllable sounds at certain times, and
I never thought about
rhyming.
that before. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, cool. I'm glad to hear that.
I've never thought about that before. That's pretty interesting. But along those same lines, then, do you feel any sort of responsibility to your fans, to bring a certain message of hope or persistence or perseverance or anything like that?
Maybe not a specific message, but I do feel a responsibility to be honest and not try and just make a song so they'll buy it. More to make a song that has a message and isn't just catchy. I mean, we like making catchy sort of poppy hard rock songs, but the responsibility I feel is to kind of remain honest and true to myself, because I feel like I'm a pretty normal person.
Right.
So if I'm honest to me, then I'm hopefully honest to them as well.
Fair enough. And I think you could probably see through that as well. I mean, I think music fans, especially rabid music fans, can see through fakeness or whatever the word I'm looking for is, as opposed to, a much more organic honesty.
Yeah. It's about like writing a song because you need to, not because, the industry trend tells you to write this type of thing or whatever.
Right. So when you guys are writing then, I mean, you're coming from a harder, heavier kind of genre. Was it difficult to write these songs? Because I know when you're like writing for heavy stuff, right? You're writing like, this is where a breakdown will come and this is where I can get some jumping in or some, crowd sing-alongs. But this probably is a little bit different.
No, you're right. That's a good question. Honestly, a lot of this stuff seemed like it came out so naturally. It was at least from an instrumental standpoint, Worth and Tristan did a lot of that writing, and I wrote a lot of the original bass stuff, and some of the like the synthier, ethereal sounds that are buried in there. But as far as instrumentally, I feel like we just like woke up one week and we had all these songs, and they were well formatted without the vocals even having been there yet. For the most part, I think there's only one song on the record where the vocals came first. But it felt like instrumentally we just kind of had it all there one day, and it just kind of like materialized because we were motivated to get it done. And we have the resources, like Worth and I live in Red Room Recording Studio. That's in our house, and he runs the joint. So, and he's the producer. So like we have access to all this stuff, and we don't have to pay millions of dollars to sit around and make a good product.
You can tweak all day and all night.
Oh yeah, and we did. As far as lyrically and vocally, it took a little longer just because I was really particular about things and wanted, like I said, to be sending the message the song sounded like it should send. But I wouldn't say it was difficult. Dude, honestly, I think all of us had been like waiting to get these demons out for so long that this first record just like happened. It was pretty great.
That's pretty cool. So if everything's in your house, in your studio, were you like 3 o'clock in the morning, hey, I've got a vocal idea, or
we have definitely gone there. Yeah, we have. I've like, me and Worth would be sitting at the house, and this didn't happen all the time, but like there were a few times where we'd be sitting at the house having a couple beers or whatever, and it'd be like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I would just have to like push him up off the couch, be like, dude, I thought of a thing, let's give it a shot, and he'd be like, no. And then, but we'd eventually get there, and before you know it, it's 3, 4 in the morning, and you've just been screaming into a microphone for the past few hours.
Yeah, and I imagine that the letting it go, like with a deadline or whatever, probably the only way you could let it go, because you could be tweaking all day long if it's in your basement or in your house and you're not paying for it, right? That
Right.
Guitar sound can always sound a little bit better, and that vocal can always sound a little bit different.
Yeah, you're right. It's like, when are we done? You know, because we could just sit and do this forever. That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just deadlines and getting it out, because otherwise you're not worried about a bill.
Yeah, I think, and pretty early on we did set a deadline for ourselves, which, now that you mention it, I mean, Worth was the one I think who set the deadline really, and he probably had already been aware of what you're saying right now. He's like, if we don't set this deadline, we're just gonna go and go and go.
And tweak, right?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
What's this look like out on the road? You guys taking this out?
Yeah, we're in talks for doing a couple weeks this summer, and it's gonna be the 5 of us, and we'll probably have like a tour manager, hopefully like a cool one that can like pop up on stage and do some stage dives and guest vocals and stuff like that. That'd be kind of a rad way to go. But yeah, dude, it's gonna be I think it's gonna be rowdy. I'm pretty pumped. We're talking with the with Jeremy about doing some shows with his other bands and that sort of thing.
Oh, nice.
So he might be pulling double, triple duty, which it's good for him.
I don't know. I mean, how do you prepare to do triple duty on the road? That's got to be rough. He's
a monster. He's an absolute machine person.
So anyway, and then we were talking about the release. Do you have any kind of time frame for the release or timeline for the fall?
Yeah. So I think, what are we on? I think we're putting out our 6th single later this month. So every 6 weeks from then, and then, I mean, it should be, I can't remember. It's like, I think by fall they'll all be out, and that'll be the record, on this current schedule that we're on.
And then you just got to go back and sequence it, or is it going to be sequenced the way you're releasing?
We'll resequence for sure.
Because that's a whole art in itself, right? You could spend all day doing that.
I love that. I love that part, man. It's really like a surprisingly fun part of the record making process. It's like, we've got all this stuff we love, but how do we format it so that it's the best deliverable we can give to the listener?
Right, because I think the people who are downloading the singles or doing whatever are not going to get that ebb and flow of all the emotion that you're trying to, convey.
Right. Yeah, you gotta kind of Yeah, in that resequencing, we'll have to kind of guide them where we want them to go from an emotional journey standpoint.
And I think that's an art that's sort of getting lost.
You're right with all the singles and the EPs, and I mean EPs can still be very effective that way, but you know what I mean. I'm definitely in agreement with you.
Yeah, we're old school souls for sure.
I love it.
In the business anyway. If fans want to find all the pretty things, can you give us all your socials?
Yeah, it's Instagram, All the Pretty Things Official. I believe it's YouTube, All the Pretty Things. Facebook, All the Pretty Things Official. Trying to think if we have anything else that we're really pushing socially.
There's too many.
I think that's the three like big boys that we're going with.
Awesome. And I hit all my questions. I hope I didn't meander too much. I kind of just like to talk.
Oh, dude, this was great.
Thank you, my friend. Good luck with the record. I really do enjoy it, and hopefully we'll see. I'm in Richmond, so I'm not too far from you. Maybe we'll catch maybe your run will take you this way.
Hope so, man. Dude, and this has been great. Really, really, thank you very much for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, no worries at all. Like I said, I kind of set up questions, but I meander all the time and just start talking. So
those are the best interviews.
Too far. Yeah. Awesome. Hey, be safe, my friend. Good luck with the record.
Take care. Good meeting you.
Cheers. Right now. Bye.
Yeah.